the bar will be raised with respect to companies that are embracing it and utilizing it as a daily tool. Every day you wake up, how am I going to use my AI tools today to help me do my work faster, more efficiently, et cetera? So it will absolutely change the workforce. Um, and again, the folks that are not trying it now, that are not working with it now, experimenting it with now, will be the ones that, yes, are left behind. It is that adopt or perish. When I present out to different companies or industries, I'm speaking to them about AI. I talk about traditional AI, which is what we know with the data scientists. When I talk about off-the-shelf AI, which is really that AI like generative AI, what are we doing? That's really hit the scene November 2022. And then we also have AI as a service. So that's going to be a third party that might come in, might do some traditional, definitely do some generative, bring a solution to a company. So when we're looking at that AI, all of that comes into play. And then when I was really driving that forward for companies, starting at Schneider Electric, but also at American Family Insurance, and then at Homesite, and then also at SharkNinja, I was really helping those companies with AI adoption. So that's been a big piece of the work I've been doing, in addition to the development and technical delivery activity.
I think you've proven my point. Where to begin on this? But let's begin with the AI adoption experience that you were just alluded to there, particularly with the engineers. You know, a very large base of engineers. What was the scale of experimentation happening with AI there, and what was the learning curve for the organization and for yourself in seeing that rolled out? Because I think it has huge pertinence to the broader industry today, right?
Yes. So I'll give a little context.
Sure.
So I had done back in 2019, 2020, and 21, I had done a column for AI Trends as their executive leadership insider for AI. And so that column, that was 4 different articles over that time period. And it was really addressing how do we adopt AI in a company, an enterprise. Now, remember when I did it, we were talking traditional AI. So at that point, all the conversations were about, hey, our companies have pockets of data scientists doing amazing things, but it's really hard to get value out of them. It's really hard to bring them forward, and it's really hard for us to monetize at the other end. So how are we doing that as enterprises? And so that's what that focus was. So I had that as a backdrop. Then jumping forward to 2022, November, where the launch of the ChatGPT, bringing that out, I was very driven to bring my engineering teams into this new capability. And when I'm looking at the use of AI, I have always, with traditional or generative, always said we've got to look at how are we using it not only for features and functionalities in our development products, but I'm also looking at how do we use it for our operations to get things smoother, to get things done quicker. And an example is, okay, you have a call center. And if your engineering team is able to develop an AI solution for the call center based on a database and based on being able to predictively answer questions for them, you can save a huge amount of money. And that's part of your product solution, but it's obviously not a feature in your product. So this is the journey that we're on, and when utilizing AI in our companies, on where are we going to use it and how are we going to use it, features or operations in our daily work. Now, when I take a look at what's happening today, because currently I am doing fractional CTO work, in addition to some work in Longevity Global that I've mentioned. It's a not-for-profit, and I'm also teaching at MIT. So in the fractional CTO work, I go out and I'm speaking with and working with engineers, engineering leaders. And really what we're seeing in the software space right now is that those engineering leaders are struggling. They're struggling because why would they struggle? Right? We all know that the generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., Claude, they can all create code. So why are the leaders in software development or software engineering really struggling? And a lot of it has to do with the adoption, how these companies are embracing, big or small, how are they embracing that capability to utilize these tools in the software development lifecycle? And I actually had a presentation to Reuters, a C-suite presentation in the past, and I drew the software development life cycle. And I said, let's look through here and see how we might use AI. And in this case, I'm talking generative AI, how we might use it to make our development cycle faster. And at that time, I was saying 30% faster. I now believe it's at least 50%. So back to the question, why are these software development managers struggling? Why are they struggling? And it was very interesting, very telling. One of them said to me, yes, I know my engineering teams, my software engineering teams, I know they're using generative AI to create their code, but they're hiding it. They're not telling us. They're embarrassed. They're putting it under the cover. And the bigger problem to this particular leader was that the engineers were not understanding all of the code that was coming out. So why? Why are the software engineering leaders really struggling with the AI adoption? And the answer is because their development teams, they're using AI, but they're hiding it. They're not coming out and talking about it. Those engineers are actually, software engineers are embarrassed that they're using it. So this is a problem because really, not only do you not know and don't have visibility as a manager.
Can we put a pin in it though? Why before we move on, why the embarrassment? Like what does that tell you about the human response to the technology in general or in this particular instance?
So there's a whole discussion, and we can hit on it in a moment, but there's a whole discussion on what is this doing to jobs and how much is the adoption of AI in our everyday lives everywhere. It's not just one place, it's everywhere. We also
empowering in some ways.
They're worried about their jobs.
Right. Yeah.
They're worried about the jobs. They're worried about being replaced. You'll hear lots and lots of statements out there about how AI is replacing and will replace huge portions of the workforce. And I've said it before, and I think others have said it too. AI is not going to replace the people. It's the people who know how to use the AI that will replace the people that don't know how to use the AI. So there is this fear. There is this fear surrounding, and in this case, I'm giving the example of the software engineering, but I can tell you it's everywhere. So let's talk about that software engineer. They're afraid, they're hiding it, or maybe they're doing it, but they really don't want to talk about it. The software engineering leader is worried because they know, number one, that they're using it, and number two, the biggest concern is they don't know what is in their code. So how do we address this, right? This is a real problem because it's going to slow your adoption. You're no longer going to be able to, and if you do not adopt AI properly, I said in my Reuters presentation to the C-suite, this is our Darwinian moment, adopt or perish.
And what are the consequences, Dawn, of not being transparent or of hiding it, as you put it? Like, why does that matter for a start?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really huge. Number one, it hurts efficiencies. Number two, it hurts organizational growth. Number three, you get rogue code. You don't know what it's doing. Number four, you've got security, privacy, and responsible use. It's something in one of my articles I wrote where I talk about the trust triad. As we are developing and as we are utilizing, we must be, as humans, responsible as security, privacy, responsible use. So all of those things are exposed, and you're exposed with respect to your efficiencies. You know, I'm thinking if you're doing this right, you're going to get at least 50% efficiency. That means my teams get their jobs done quicker, and they're opened up to do this other feature, open up a new channel, being able to do all sorts of different design development activity or in different functions in a company. Lots of different opportunities are wasted. So yes, it's very much a problem to have it not be something that's owned by the company. So if you are not having visibility and a real effort that's structured around adopting AI in your company, big or small, then you will lose opportunities. You will lose opportunities of that efficiency that I mentioned as a basic, and then you will open up risks because those risks are going to come out in that security, privacy, and responsible use I mentioned. You may not have code that's secure. You may not have been being careful of privacy concerns, and you may not have had a situation where you're doing responsible use of your AI. And all of those are very, very critical. So it's opportunity costs and it's higher risk by not having this very visible and very much owned by the organization. So what did I tell this manager, the software manager? What did I say? Because he's describing the fear that he knows they're using it, has no idea exactly what's in there, and they don't either, and it's happening rogue. And the answer is you make a mandate that it is required to use it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Leadership. This is a leadership statement, right? Leaders have to bring the visions. And my articles on executive leadership, the leaders have to own that vision. So we have to put that gauntlet down. I say make it a mandate, but it's really you're bringing that vision to the table. This is something we have to do. But then you have to empower them, right? You have to enable them such that they can, and then you have to reward the results. And there's a lot of experimentation that has to happen in that umbrella of empowering them and letting them try. So what did I tell that engineering leader, that software engineering leader? And really, it's fundamental. I said you need to require it. You go to your teams and you say, you must use this. It's part of your metrics, your goals. I'm going to be measuring you if you are using the tools. And then you have to enable them. Yeah, I know.
It's such a clever solution.
All of a sudden.
So good. Yeah.
So, and now it becomes bragging rights, but it can't be without the guardrails. There has to be some structure, not a lot of structure, but some basic guardrails and structure around it. So what do we need to give them? Number one, we need to give them a secure generative AI tool to be utilizing. Maybe two. So that but it's an enterprise level. It's got enterprise level security. We don't want to have the 2023 Samsung moment where all the code was uploaded to make it efficient and it was open to the public by an engineer. That's a bad idea. You don't want to lose your IP. So you enable them. You enable them by bringing them these tools, but then you also enable them by making sure that you've got some basic training. Now, folks are using this a lot, but if you have to require something like a context file that needs to be attached to the prompts, and the context file has got to be the design rules. So if you have, and you think about this for a moment, if you have your software design rule guidelines in a document and you attach that up to your prompt in ChatGPT, for say, and then you were to go ahead and have it run and create some code for you. Now let's take that code to a design review where all the team's there. And now my mandate from my manager is I, the software engineer, have to explain what it did. And I have to highlight, and I get gold stars for the area that there's generative AI, the code that was generated by them. So you have to identify where it is, and then you have to explain what it's doing. And that's a teaching moment. So now you're leveling up your whole engineering organization because now they're learning areas that they might not have learned before, and they're learning it through the generative AI tool.
Do you feel that might be also like you've kind of happened upon a model for a successful educational development, like a junior or high school level, where, kids, they have access to this technology, you make it mandatory, and then you make sure they're able to explain maybe verbally and work their way through the AI augmented work that they submit?
Yeah, I think that it's very critical to, and I was a huge proponent on November 2022, ChatGPT came out. January, we're having a teaching meeting at MIT on this course that I was on the teaching staff. And I was the one with a very loud voice saying, we have to adopt it, because many, many universities around were saying, all right, how do we make sure they're not using it to answer? And I was like, no, 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 this is a new tool. And to me, it's critical that it be used in education. I believe in the students learning fundamentals, but then very quickly jumping to, now, how are you going to use this tool as a next step? And I was at MIT in November 2022 when ChatGPT came out. January 2023, I'm sitting with the other faculty, staff on this course, and we're having this conversation about that all universities were having at that time. What are we going to do about ChatGPT? And there was a fear in the education space that, hey, now we're not gonna know if a student's doing their work. Should we ban it? Was the question. And I was very quick and very loud on the heck no. We have to teach them how to use it. And luckily, the team all agreed. And so we moved forward with, you need to tell us how you're using it.
And so successful use of AI requires a transparency. It requires a progressive apprehension of what's taking place. Was that the model? Yeah?
Exactly. So you go back to that software engineer who was afraid to mention it. And now the manager is mandating that it be there. Mandate that they attach a context file that has the guidelines for the software. You now have a design review, which does not have to worry about semicolons and, backdoor security, because it's all in the design guidelines. So now what are you spending your time on in your design review? You're spending your time on learning as a team, teaching each other, showing each other how your AI components work, how your code is working. So now as a team, we are all leveling up, because we're not worrying about semicolons and we're not worrying about backdoors for security. What we're doing is we're saying, how is the AI being used to solve the problem? Do we all understand it? We're all learning from each other. And guess what? We all together might also decide that there's a particular software development technique that AI is using that we don't want for some reason associated with our product or our process that we're trying to utilize the AI for. And guess what we're doing? We're going back to our design rule guideline and we're adding that piece in. So design rule guidelines, which are things that are very difficult in a software engineering environment to get everyone to pay attention to and adhere to, all of a sudden they become a way to control how this huge tool called AI is a generative AI is actually utilizing and developing and as a tool for you to get your product and your work done. So it's a very exciting opportunity, and it's those engineers, those software engineers who know how to use generative AI are so much more valuable than those that have never or who have done it in a closet.
Soul of the CIO is sponsored by Nextvink. Now, if you work in IT, you'll know too well how disruptions can derail productivity fast. Nextvink's AI-powered platform for digital employee experience keeps you ahead. It uncovers issues others can't see and resolves them automatically with employee-centric AI and always-on automation. Employees stay productive, IT stays proactive and even preventative, and leadership sees results. Nextvink, ahead of every IT disruption, behind every strategy. Learn more at nextvink.com.
Listening to you, Dawn, one thing that strikes me is perhaps a lot of these responses, these reactions to AI, which have become detrimental, they're deriving from a misunderstanding of the nature of technology, of the nature of any tool as something that could replace the human being, that could replace the worker. Do you think that's accurate, or do you think that's a possibility, but it's just a possibility which is down the road?
It will absolutely change the workforce. It will change how we do our businesses. The bar will be raised with respect to companies that are embracing it and utilizing it as a daily tool. Every day you wake up, how am I going to use my AI tools today to help me do my work faster, more efficiently, et cetera? So it will absolutely change the workforce. And again, the folks that are not trying it now, that are not working with it now, experimenting it with now, will be the ones that, yes, are left behind. It is that adopt or perish Darwinian moment, right? Because we are evolving. And you think about that because I've been talking a lot about the software engineering example, right?
Yeah, how do you extrapolate that out? Yeah.
I have looked at this across companies. So how are we using it in marketing? How are we using it in finance? How are we using it in, our legal department, our HR? How are we using it? And more importantly, how are we encouraging and enabling those teams to experiment on their own? Yeah, smart people, right? Enable them. Have the edict, have the leadership state. The vision is that we will all be in our every role in our company, be utilizing this to find efficiencies and empower them by giving them the guardrails, right? The security, privacy, responsible use. And you also have to be able to have them go and have some basic training, and that tool that's going to also be enterprise level security. And that could be something tiny for a little startup. Hey, the two of us, we just have ChatGPT Teams, but it's secure between us and we can share files. Or you might have an enterprise level, like of any of the others. So Gemini, Claude, etc. So you've got to really push that for the organization and then step back and give them an opportunity to experiment and try, because it's a learning curve. And we all know that the results are not always beautiful that come out. And we have to train and we have to put context files in so that it doesn't go rogue. And you have to learn how to set up your settings so it knows how specific and structured you want to be. And imagine doing that in every function in your organization. And then as an executive leader, you need to reward. You need to have competitions. I've held competitions where I'm like, okay, who on my team has got the coolest? Everybody put your prompts out there. You need to have a library of prompts you're sharing. And whether that's a very informal thing, just in a document that we can all access, or if it's a full database that you're utilizing, but you need to have that learning organization and really be pushing that to the next level and doing it across your company, not just individually. And the other area that a company may indeed be wanting to leverage AI, but still needs to have people knowing and understanding it, is that AI is a service. So maybe you're pulling in an external third party to do something much heavier and do some help you put together your context files, or help you create your own LLM, right? That's very viable, but you need to have folks that are comfortable enough with the language, with utilizing it, even on your daily operations, such that they can navigate and work with that AI as a service company that's going to be doing that work for you. Yeah.
I don't want to. It has been, as you detailed, like so far, like this very, very rich and varied and impressive career, Dawn. Like, where did your journey as a technologist begin precisely? Where do you identify as the genesis of it?
Yes. So, as many of us we look back, and for me, it was mom. So, mom was biology, physiology. She was a professor herself.
Right.
At university, but she would always be designing experiments for her students, and many times in my kitchen there would be a bio experiment going on. And so I learned the love and passion around science from her. Now my passion has been mostly in electrical and computer systems. That's where I got my undergrad work, cut my teeth on chip development, but then broadened as I became an executive out to really any technology and development. I love building things. I love empowering teams. I love leadership in that, helping teams, really enabling them to be able to launch and get the flywheel going. And all of a sudden things are working and they're getting product out the door. To me, getting product out the door is a huge passion. So, and thus my love of operations and the work I did, my master's degree work at the Leaders for Global Operations program. That's the MIT program that's focused on manufacturing and operations. It's a dual degree, so 2 degrees in 24 months. And that is a very intense program. And the things I learned from that were amazing and enabling as far as helping organizations to really get product out the door in the future. So it's been a lifelong passion. And over the last 8 years, I've been privileged to be a mentor for the Operations Lab course. And just recently, I'm taking on a co-lecturer position in that program, in that course. So, which is, by the way, a course where the students get in groups of 3 to 4, and then we get real world problems. So we go out and we get real world problems from Amazon. We get a problem from Blue Origin. We get a problem from Amgen. My students and I went out to Porsche last year in Germany, in Stuttgart, Germany. And so we bring those problems, the students to the problems. We do something called a Gemba, where the students actually go on site and see the issue, the operations issue, and then they do a resolution of that problem for the company. And they do that in the 1 semester time frame and have a readout at the end. So it's a very, very exciting, and also leverages my industry background, my understanding of the technology and engineering.
That's amazing, Dawn. I didn't realize your mother had been a biologist, did you say?
Yes, biology, physiology. Yes.
And not only have you ended up doing a lot of work with MIT and a lot of academic work, as you just detailed, but of course, another thing you're very well known for, a kind of extra dimension of your career, has been your work between balancing wellness and technology, or harnessing technology for wellness.
Yes.
Maybe tell us a bit about the origins of that and that storyline.
Yeah. So my focus on health and wellness has been a lifelong journey. I've had, in addition to the career aspects of seeing medical devices and being able to work on medical devices in my career, I've also had the personal aspects of it. Some personal ends, of course, are family. And family, when I have 6 sons, so any of those children getting sick was something I always had to focus on. But in addition, my whole life journey, I was sick starting at 3 years old, and I've had pulmonary issues, chronic pulmonary issues my whole life. I've got asthma, and then I also have another rare disease, allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillus, ABPA. And so I have always had to do this extra, very focused, and not always successfully, mind you. It's been a journey to learn to stop and focus on my wellness and health, such that I can open up the power that I have to do the work that I love to do. And I would many times get in a situation where, I was too busy to do that wellness thing for myself. And then I get sick, and then I'm not able to do the thing I love. So having this time in my career where a sliver of my time can indeed be focused on health, wellness, longevity. I'm doing a lot of studying myself. I'm doing a lot of research myself. I'm looking at functional medicine. I'm looking at health span. And it's fascinating because indeed you can, right now, 15, 20 years ahead of time, you can do biometrics and you can predict major, major life-threatening things like cancer, cardio issues, dementia. You can also, metabolic disease is huge. So all of these things, most of them you can see early, and you can take corrective action. It's kind of like the plane that's going to hit the building. If you move it just a few degrees, and you can actually miss having a real problem health-wise. So it is a passion of mine. I think that it's one of the things that we, as executives, a lot of executives do not talk about, and I'm not the only one with chronic illness. There's many, many out there. And the key is you learn all the tools. You have a toolbox of things you do such that you mitigate or eliminate the problem, right? And so you just have to be training yourself and trying and experimenting with those things such that it does not become, your chronic issue does not become a problem in the work you want to do. And a lot of, I think, executives need to know that everybody has their crosses to bear. Some people short, small things, some people long, lifelong things, but really focusing on your health and wellness, your whole career, is absolutely critical.
If we combine those two perspectives, right, in terms of how executives should be preparing culturally for new technology, emergent technologies, and how they should be planning their own well-being and health, like do you have like one model of approach, one philosophy that you think kind of holds it all together, just to end on?
I think, and it circles back, I think, to some of my technology passions, right? The AI, the operations. I really believe in pulling those in together. But to me, it's a new world where you now have the ability to know your metrics. You have the ability to monitor and turn the dials. And so everyone's got to own it. Everyone's got to own it and utilize those tools. And of course, I am loving the research that I'm looking at right now that says, how do we utilize some of the AI tools and what would the operations things be put in place such that we can see things and know your own metrics your whole life, and really tweak those metrics to the outcome that you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes to being able to see things ahead, you're second to none, Dawn. It's been lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much.